A storm-lit night. Sirens wail in the distance as a single scream cuts through the metallic air. A chill cry of terror, a mother's desperate gasp, and then the cruel silence that follows on a quiet suburban street, where streetlights barely carve shadows on manicured lawns. The unthinkable unfolds behind the closed doors of what seemed a perfectly ordinary home. In the span of a heartbeat, a family's world is shattered. That scream, the last thing anyone living inside the house will ever utter. That single moment becomes the line separating before from after. Welcome to a normal family, a quiet street, a night they can't forget. Tonight on Midnight Crime Vault, we unravel the horrors of one shocking evening. It was November 14th, 2019, in the peaceful suburban town of Maplewood, a place where neighbors greeted each other by name. Children played beneath towering oaks, and every house was expected to be a sanctuary. The home at 17 Pine Grove Lane belonged to the Hendersons. Charming, well-liked, unassuming. There was Jessica, 38, warm-hearted and always ready with a pot of coffee for the neighbors. Her husband, David, 40, a soft-spoken accountant who played catch with his son every Sunday. And their 10-year-old son, Noah, a shy boy with bright eyes and a love for drawing. On that ordinate Thursday, the sun had set hours ago. A chilly wind rustled fallen leaves across driveways. Inside number 17, the Hendersons ate dinner, laughed quietly over stories from their day, then retreated to bed. Nothing seemed amiss. Outside, moonlight draped the street in a cold hush. But inside, in the dead of night, horror awaited. The first clue that something was terribly wrong was the dog, Oscar, barking in frantic, uneven bursts. Neighbors recalled hearing the barking around 2:17 a.m., echo strangely down the asphalt. A single torch flickered briefly at the Henderson driveway, then vanished. Neighbors, unsettled, assumed perhaps a late-night walk or a passing car. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, someone crept through the house. Silent, shadow-like, deliberate. No forced entry. No broken window. No alarm tripped. Whoever entered knew exactly what they were doing. The nightmare began in the master bedroom. The intruder moved with terrifying calm, slipping into the room where Jessica lay sleeping. A muffled gasp, a stifled cry. Then her eyes opened wide in terror, wide enough to capture the fleeting shape of a man. But before she could scream again, the finality. A swift blow, cold, efficient. Blood spattered across crisp white sheets. The room went silent again. Next, the intruder paused, listening. Footsteps, tiptoe across the hallway carpet. At 2:19 a.m., David stirred, perhaps sensing a presence. A floorboard creaked. In an instant, the intruder struck again, hard, unrelenting, leaving no chance for defense. David collapsed, his last breath a ragged whisper. The hallway remained dark, silent. Then the intruder slid down on hands and knees, approaching Noah's room. The child's door stood ajar, a testament to innocence. In the doorway, a small nightlight glowed softly. The intruder hesitated for a moment, as though savoring the dread. Maybe Noah woke? Maybe he didn't. We may never know. What we do know is how the next hour played out. The house searched, wall to wall, rooms rifled, drawers opened and tossed aside. Personal items scattered, a silent scavenger at work. And then the intruder slipped out, just as silently as they came, leaving no clues, no prints, no trace. The next morning, sunlight crept through the windows, casting slivers of gold across lifeless bodies. A neighbor, Mrs. Ramirez, found the front door slightly ajar. Curious, concerned, she knocked. No answer. She tried her neighborly courtesy again, louder this time, calling Jessica. David. A cold draft brushed her cheek as she pushed the door slowly. The hallway was still. The living room light flickered. Then she saw the staircase leading upward, and on the top landing, a small pool of dark liquid. Horror overwhelmed her. She fled, trembling, dialing 911. Police arrived. Crime scene tape looped the house in a yellow embrace. For the family that morning, the street that had known their laughter would only remember their absence. The background was simple. A quiet street, An ordinary family trusted by everyone. Nothing in their reputation hinted at danger. Neighbors described them as kind, helpful, gentle. Never a raised voice, never an argument. The Hendersons had lived there for 7 years, long enough to be considered almost part of the neighborhood's fabric. Their son went to the elementary school just 2 blocks away. David commuted downtown. Jessica volunteered at the local food bank. The crime shattered more than a family. It shattered faith and safety. The investigation began immediately. Detectives combed the house from attic to basement, channeling forensic teams. The primary crime scene was the upstairs hallway, master bedroom and Noah's room. There was no forced entry, no sign of broken locks, no footprints in the front yard, no car idling nearby, no witnesses claiming to see someone suspicious entering or leaving. The only oddity, a single, small smudge of blood on the inner door jamb of the basement. But analysis confirmed it belonged to Jessica. There was no sign that the intruder went downstairs. Forensics turned to trace evidence, fibers, fingerprints, DNA. But nothing definitive. Prints on the basement doorknob were partial and unmatchable. The fiber found on the carpet near the kitchen was common. Nothing exotic. Detectives interviewed dozens of neighbors. Some recalled hearing a car door slam at around 2:05 a.m., a distant engine revving soon after. Others insisted they saw nothing. Cameras from nearby houses were trained away, facing driveways, not the street. No useful footage. Weeks turned into months, and the case grew colder. Media dubbed it the Pine Grove Night Murders. Rumors spread. Was it a burglary gone wrong? A targeted hit? A vigilante attack? Or the work of a predator slipping through cracks? Investigators explored every lead. They looked into the Hendersons' acquaintances, financials, personal lives. Their friends described them as mild, trustworthy. Their bank accounts showed nothing unusual. No debts, no loans, no suspicious withdrawals. David's work as an accountant didn't involve high-risk clients. Jessica's volunteer work never attracted controversy. The only thing they couldn't account for was a small, unmarked package arriving at their doorstep 4 days before the murders. The courier slip had been discarded, but police recovered a piece-torn date of dispatch. Foreign origin. No name. Only the house address. The contents unknown. The package had caused no visible disturbance, but perhaps it holds the key. Detectives tried tracing delivery routes, cross-referencing unusual packages sent to Maplewood in that period. Nothing led to a suspect. Without prints or DNA, the trail went cold. But the pressure mounted. The town was ablaze with fear. Parents kept their children close at night. Community meetings were held under flickering streetlights. People walked in groups, locked doors sooner, mistrusted strangers. Politicians and local media criticized the police for lack of results, for letting a monster roam free, hidden behind the silence of anonymity. And then a breakthrough of sorts. 6 months later, a man in a neighboring state was arrested for a string of burglaries. He matched some of the physical descriptions floated by neighbors: slender build, tall walks, with a slight limp. Among his possessions, police found crude sketches, floor plans, and strangely, a drawing signed 17P. The sketches looked like, or were blueprints of the Henderson house. For a moment, hope flickered. Investigators obtained a search warrant for his apartment. Inside, they found nothing. No weapons, no gloves, no clothing with bloodstains. His alibi for November 14th was shaky. He claimed to have been sleeping, alone, in a cheap motel 300 miles away. Credit card records contradicted him, but surveillance from the motel was missing. The clerk said the man paid in cash. No CCTV. The defense attorney dismissed the sketches as artistic expression. No proof. Without a solid link, no DNA, no murder weapon, no eyewitness. The prosecutor hesitated. The public demanded justice. Families demanded closure. Police faced mounting pressure, but the case crumbled under its own constraints. Charges dropped. The suspect vanished from news headlines. Worse, the community's dread remained. For while investigators found a plausible suspect, they lacked final confirmation, and so the murders of Jessica, David, and Noah Henderson remained technically unsolved. The mansion at 17 Pine Grove Lane stands empty to this day, windows shuttered, loan overgrown, rumor dark, an unspoken testament to a night that stripped a family of their lives and a neighborhood of its innocence. To this day, investigators still ask, why the Hendersons? What did that package contain? Who drew those blueprints? And why? Was the intruder a professional burglar? A stalker? Someone fueled by darker impulses? Or was it someone who knew them? Someone close? Someone who could move unseen among neighbors? There are theories. Perhaps it was a targeted hit, revenge, mistaken identity, or intimidation. Others believe it was opportunistic. A burglar expecting valuables found something worth killing for. Some suspect a drifter, someone hitchhiking through Maplewood that night, someone who will never be found, yet no one knows. No trace remains, no confession, no justice served, and so the case lingers a dark blot on a suburban street. At night, neighbors still whisper the story. Children look over their shoulders. Dogs whine near closed doors. Lights stay on long after bedtime. Because in Maplewood, some nights are never quiet. And that scream, though, long silenced, still echo what really happened in that house. Who walked through the door at 2:17 a.m. and why? Who drew the plans and sent the package? Could justice still be possible? Or is this a case that will remain forever beyond our reach? That's up to you to decide. Who do you believe stands behind this heinous act? A ruthless burglar, a vengeful predator, or someone far closer to home than anyone ever suspected? If you want more chilling stories like this, subscribe to Midnight Crime Vault and turn on notifications, because some nights, the truth doesn't sleep.